The Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you today by Draft. Looking for the best fantasy sports site on the planet? Sign up with Draft today. For a limited time only, our listeners will receive $3 matching their first deposit of at least $10. Use promo code DTR or visit draft.com/DTR to sign up now. Draft. Fantasy for the people. Now enjoy the show.
Caught by Brandon Cooks. Shoot your arrows. Cooper Kupp walks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. Robert Wood, touchdown. LA. Goff goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. Picked off. Marcus Peters coming off the edge. And Ryan will be wrapped up by Clay Matthews. Everett in stride. Wow.
Franklin Myers gets his hand down there.
Weddle got a hand on it. Did he pick it? He did. Racing down the sideline is a key to lead. Gurley for MVP. Touchdown LA. Picked off by John Johnson. Well, Dante Fowler, who is able to get to breathe. Greg Zuerlein sends the Rams to the Super Bowl. LA will play for the Lombardi.
Welcome back, guys, to another Downtown Rams podcast episode. It is 260. I'm your host, Jake Ellenbogen. Joining me, as always, is Alexis Kraft, and we are here coming off a Rams W. That's right, they took care of business. Sunday Night Football, they get their revenge, 17-7 over the Chicago Bears. Alexis, we're going to dive right into it. Just share your thoughts. Just right off the cuff, I want to know exactly what you took away from this game.
I think that it was a step in the right direction. I think that, let's be real, the game was not a thriller by any means. Neither team looked like superstars. But I think for the Rams and the things that they've been struggling this season, this was a step in the right direction for them, particularly our offensive line. They've really, I got to give it to the offensive line because they've really just been horrible all season. And they really stepped up. Our two rookies, David Edwards and Bobby Evans, really came through for us. And I'll be the first one to apologize because, you and I guess, have kind of ripped on Bobby Evans a lot on this podcast. And we weren't happy when the Rams drafted him. Now, it's been one game, so I'm not completely secure about him yet, but I will say that he did impress me this game, and I thought that him and David Edwards looked really good. I mean, I just thought our offensive line looked light years ahead of where they were at the beginning of this season, so that was really positive. I just think overall, I mean, it's still not the Rams team that we think they can be, and they're still not playing the way that they could be playing, but I think you got to take the win. Like I said, it's a step in the right direction. They're not there yet. There's a lot of things that, they still need to work on, and it's, halfway past the season now. So, but I will say I left the game feeling, more optimistic than pessimistic.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he said anything that anyone's going to thoroughly disagree with. I'm really thrilled about this win. I think that this was pretty much the season at this point. But I'm really thrilled because it showed a lot of things, in my opinion. When you delve deep into this and you look at, just what that game against the Steelers meant to potentially the future of the Rams, I mean, it showed, one, Sean McVay can make adjustments, okay? Nothing was working this year for what they were doing. I mean, Jared Goff was throwing over 40 times a game in games that were like, one possession games that came down to the wire. You shouldn't have him throw 40 plus times. So in this game, they take the ball out of Goff's hand. They put it in the running back's hands, mainly Todd Gurley, who had 25 carries for 97 yards. And, he didn't go over 100 yards, but he might as well have. He was huge in this game. It was really a good game for anybody that likes to side with him like you and I, but he never left. Okay. Todd is Todd. And it was always a matter of how much longer can the Rams continue trying to do him a solid and try to, preserve his legs and worry about him long term. How much longer can they continue to hurt their own team in doing that? And it looked like, this week they finally were like, you know what, Todd, you're going to pound the rock and we need to win this football game. And it sure sounds the rest of the way now, as long as McVay doesn't stray too far off the course, he has the blueprint. Run the football. It's like you and I were saying all last week. It's like you and I have been saying all year. You got to make things easier on Jared Goff. I mean, is there any excuse for him to play as poorly as he has this year? Absolutely not. But you 100% have to make it easier on him. And by doing that, it opens up everything. And the running game really did that for him in this one. And of course, the offensive line, hats off to Bobby Evans. Hats off to David Edwards, who's already really impressed us. Hats off to Austin Corbett. Hats off to Austin Blythe. Hats off to Whitworth. I mean, it was just a really good performance by that offensive line. It was actually the lowest percentage Goff has been pressured in his whole career in the NFL. So, really not fitting the narrative coming in, where everyone was like, oh, it's Goff against the world. This offensive line's terrible. It doesn't matter. Whitworth is bad. They're all bad. And sure enough, it was, the numbers say he was pressured the fewest in his entire career. In my opinion, that makes it probably the best protection he's had in his career, just by those stats alone. Now, I do want to get into Jared Goff because there's a lot of mixed feelings on Jared Goff's play. He honestly didn't look that bad. And then, he threw an interception and double coverage. Just a really dumb decision. Something that you don't like, obviously, to see from Jared Goff. But I thought he rallied back well. This is somebody that had 2 huge touchdown passes, bombs that were perfectly placed. And were both really, were touchdowns on the field and were overturned for whatever reason, whether it be, illegal formation on one of them and then Cooper Kupp fumbling at the inch line. So I will say Goff had 2 touchdowns taken away from that. And, regardless of how the stat sheet looks, Jared Goff might have gotten his deep ball back. And in any game where Jared Goff is struggling, if he has that equalizer, watch out. And I think that was really the biggest takeaway for me with Jared Goff, because I don't think he played all that well for having that much protection. But, baby steps. I love the deep ball, and it looks like it's back.
Yeah. I just think, as far as the deep ball goes, he did have some really good passes and things like that. He, like you mentioned, the throws earlier. I think the thing with Jared Goff right now is the consistency isn't there. When you pay a ton of money to a quarterback like we did for Jared Goff, you expect them to be consistent. And he's been the complete opposite of that this season. And it's been really disheartening to watch. I do think that sometimes quarterbacks go through weird phases, and especially, Jared Goff, for the most part, other than last night, has really been under pressure most of the season and hasn't had a lot of time. I'll give him that. But, last night, like you mentioned, that interception he threw, he makes a lot of really, really dumb decisions. And, quarterbacks make dumb decisions sometimes. So I'm not saying he's the only one who does it, but I do think, we are week, 9 or 10 now, into the season. And, for the beginning of the season, people played the rust card, and then it was that he has no protection. Well, last night he had great protection. And he, the rust should be off right now. And I'm just not really thrilled with the way he's been playing. And I don't think most people are. I don't really think anybody can watch Jared Goff right now and be like, that guy's a franchise quarterback, because he's not playing like it. Now, can he turn it around? Yes. Do I think he'll turn it around? I'm hopeful that he will. I think it's too early to make a decision, but he can't continue to play like this. If he plays like the way he's been playing from now until the rest of the season, I do think it is a cause for concern, especially to a guy that we paid to be our franchise quarterback and we paid all this money to, because right now he does not look deserving of it. He's not playing deserving of it. So it is, for me, it's a little upsetting to have to watch what's been happening, but I hope, as the season goes on, that he'll get it together, because this team is not going to continue to win games if he keeps playing the way he's been playing the rest of the season. I mean, we really have to step it up now. If we want a shot at the playoffs, we need to win almost basically every game the rest of the season, and hope that Seattle kind of falls off the wagon a little bit. So, as far as Jared Goff goes, I just think I'm not saying that people should be panicking, but I'm saying that there is a legitimate reason for concern there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. To me, Jared Goff definitely has to play better than this if the Rams want to, acquire a championship this season. Jared Goff is going to have to play better if they want to win the division. Jared Goff's going to have to play better if they just want to make the playoffs. I mean, it's going to get rough. The Ravens, the 49ers, the Seahawks all again. You have the Dallas game. I mean, it's not going to be easy. Plus, you have to go up against Kyler Murray twice. And that Cardinals team that gave the 49ers fits, you have to have them playing better. There's really nothing more to say than that. And I do think, slowly but surely, this was a step in the right direction against a tough team that really gave him a hard time last year. I don't think Chuck Pagano is anywhere near as creative as Vic Fangio as a play caller, and so I don't think the defense really scared Goff, because I don't think that they were doing too much to really throw him off. Plus, they couldn't stop Todd Gurley. I think you have to give your hats off to guys like Cooper Kupp and Josh Reynolds and Gerald Everett and guys like that were able to step up in the passing game. With guys like Brandon Cooks and of course Robert Woods, who randomly, not randomly, he told the team early in the morning. We didn't find out until right before kickoff. He couldn't play. So, wish him the best, obviously, personal issue. Hope he's back for, this upcoming week against the Ravens. But it does appear as though the Rams might have Brandon Cooks back for that game. And I think that really coincides well with Jared Goff and, the relationship between, success and failure. And I think when you have all your guys back again, you've already seen the Rams were able to overcome not having Robert Woods. They've been able to overcome not having Brandon Cooks. And obviously they were able to overcome last year not having Cooper Kupp. So, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The Rams still remain here 6-4. It's going to be interesting when everyone's fully healthy again. And, I guess we'll see with this offense. But shifting over to the defensive side of the ball, I got to say, because I don't think anybody else is going to say it, Corey Littleton is not just one of, he's not like a top 15, top 10 linebacker. I think he's in the top 5 right now. I think he does things. I mean, people can talk about the missed touchdown last night to Tariq Cohen. It was a bad play, and everyone has those. But, I mean, he was running basically neck and neck with Tariq Cohen. He was able to cover him in stride. He's been unbelievable as a cover linebacker. He's been a great tackler. There was some crazy stat they threw out where, Corey Littleton has barely missed, it was 2% of his tackles or something crazy during Sunday Night Football. He's just been all you can ask for. A blitzer, he can do it all. And I bring him up because the Rams have a lot of choices to make at the end of the year. And I think 100% I would, re-sign Corey Littleton and make him a priority after Jalen Ramsey. I think, he is a core player that you found, and you found him through, undrafted rookie free agency. Sometimes it's a first round pick, sometimes it's UDFA, but you have to keep him around. Also on this, on that side of the ball, defensive line played well, but the secondary was great. I think Jalen Ramsey is just, once again, his presence is being felt. And I think, the defense, I'm not to say that they're already, they weren't playing at a high level before, but I think the defense is really coming into their own now that they have that piece in Ramsey, and then they have Donald on the defensive line. I just think when you have two transcendent players like that, it just is infectious. And you saw, the really good play from Troy Hill. I thought he was outstanding on Sunday Night Football. another guy that really came into his own. David Long, they threw him in there, 3rd-round pick out of Michigan, looked really good. Nickel looked really good. Of course, Taylor Rapp is really starting to come into his own, and Marquis Christian saved a touchdown with an unbelievable play. So when you get all those guys playing, like a cohesive unit, the way they are, and only giving up 7 points, and just really being a terror on defense, this is only going to help this Rams team. And I think when you get to that point, you're looking at a team that can potentially overcome even, a average offense come playoff time.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made on defense. I do really like Corey Littleton. I think that we should definitely keep him around. And there's guys, like Dante Fowler too, that we need to pay or let walk. Jalen Ramsey. So I think defense right now this year, there's a lot of players on defense who are trying to prove that they're worth big money. And that's good because it means that they're playing lights out. And so, it's been fun to watch in defense. Someone that you bring up that's interesting to me is David Long, because he's a guy who we haven't really seen hardly at all this season. And I thought he played very well. He's a guy that we really liked in the draft. Someone who we didn't even think was probably going to get the chance to play this year, because at the beginning of the season, we had both Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. And so, it was kind of just assumed that David Long was going to kind of sit behind them for at least a year. And, he got his first action last night, and I thought he did great. But he's someone who I think could start for the Rams anytime that he's needed to, and I thought that he showed that last night. So yeah, I think our defense last night didn't quite play as great as I thought they were going to play, especially against that Bears offense, which is pretty much non-existent. I thought that our defense was going to have kind of like an insane game, which they didn't. But, hey, Aaron Donald got 2 sacks, which was good. I think a lot of players played well. We talked about a few. So I do think our defense is becoming more and more consistent each game. And I'm sure it's probably not the easiest to become a consistent unit when we've had so many changes on defense this year, with players coming and going and things like that. So I do think that they're finally starting to mesh. I think it's going to get easier for them as the season goes on. And I do think by the end of the season, they'll be playing pretty efficiently.
I agree. I think it's very important to have a defense. Defense wins championships, as we've seen. The more and more I watch this team, I'm starting to wonder, we saw Wade Phillips win a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, who might have been just as good as Goff is playing right now. I'm starting to wonder if that's the route that this Rams team is going to go in and run the football. But, we'll definitely, find that out. Want to get your thoughts on the Bears overall. Obviously their offense was not great, but I thought their defense still played well. They forced a turnover on Goff. They actually forced almost 2 turnovers. There was a fumble recovery, by Mike Thomas in this one. But how well do you think the Bears played? And when you're looking at this game, is this a big win for the Rams, being 6-4? Or is this kind of like, well, the Bears aren't that good? Like, how do you look at this game? Do you add any bit of, flair to it because it was prime time, or do you kind of take it for what it is and it's, the Rams going up against kind of a hapless Bears team?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that the Rams played a tough team supposedly last night. I mean, the defensive side for the Bears, by all means, should be a competitive team. And, one of the best defenses talent-wise in the NFL, I think, but they haven't really been playing like it, much like the Rams. And, they do have some guys out on that defense as well. But, the Bears are interesting because I watch a lot of Bears games because my family is Bears fans, and I do have a spot in my heart for them, and I want them to do well, except for last night when they play against us. But, they've really got kind of a lot going on that they need to correct there. The Bears are a team that did really well last year, and unfortunately were a kick away from advancing in the playoffs and ended up losing to the Eagles, which is really, a bummer. they've got a quarterback situation. I mean, guys, we think we have a quarterback situation, which could be slightly true, but the Bears really do, and that really, I mean, Mitch Trubisky had a couple good plays last night, but overall, he's just not been playing well. That offense is really, really struggling in Chicago. So, like I said, I'm surprised that we didn't absolutely, take advantage of that. And I thought that we would, and we would just absolutely demolish that Bears offense, just because they've got a lot of different issues going on, particularly at quarterback. Like we saw last night, they ended up saying was because of injury, but it's a conspiracy. Why did they pull Mitch Trubisky out with 3 minutes left and they're down by 10? Their defense has so much talent on it. I mean, Khalil Mack, Leonard Floyd, Roquan Smith, Eddie Jackson, I could go on, but they also haven't been playing that great either, for whatever reason. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that we went in there and we beat a superstar team by any means. I think the Bears are just they've got to figure it out, and they got a lot going on. I don't know what they're going to do about quarterback because they gave up stuff for Mitch Trubisky. They gave up a lot for Khalil Mack. So they're not, as far as the draft is concerned, the Bears aren't really in a position to take a top quarterback. So I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Yeah, and the Bears could become a cautionary tale. Of you go out and you get somebody who looks like somebody else. In this case, Matt Nagy. I know everyone was hoping that he'd be the next Sean McVay. I think a lot of this blame, and I think we talked about it in the preview show, a lot of this blame just gets thrown on Trubisky, but doesn't get ever spread to Matt Nagy. I just don't really understand what the Bears' offensive identity is, and don't get me wrong, we're still trying to figure out what the Rams' offensive identity is, so let's not act like the Rams are all high and mighty, but for real, I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know why Allen Robinson wasn't being thrown to all game long and trying to test Jalen Ramsey. I don't understand why, if Tariq Cohen couldn't be stopped, why they stopped using him. I don't know why they, even decided to draft David Montgomery when they had Jordan Howard. There's a lot of I don't knows with this team, and they don't even have 3 of their 4 tight ends are out. So they started Ben Broniker from Harvard. And I mean, what can you expect from, your 4th string tight end? Obviously not a ton. So I think, again, this is a great win for the Rams, but obviously let's, take the wrapping off a little bit and let's look at what this really was. And it was really just baby steps in the right direction. Rams remain at 6-4. They're the first team out of the playoffs. There's a lot of football left. But I mean, let's be real here. We can't really start championing the Rams as a serious threat to win a Super Bowl and go back to the Super Bowl until they beat a team like the Baltimore Ravens, who they play next week.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll obviously talk about the Ravens in our preview show. But that's going to be, if we don't correct some things, that could be a real not fun game to watch. But yeah, definitely. The Bears are not the Ravens. However, a win is a win. It's a point for us in the win column. We'll take it. So, just glad we were able to come out of that with the win.
Totally agree. Around the league, Seattle, or around the division, Seattle had a bye. The 49ers overcame losing late to the Cardinals. They actually scored a game-winning touchdown, go-ahead touchdown within the last 40 seconds of the game. I know everyone is thinking, this is over, but again, I'll say it over and over again. The 49ers look vulnerable to me. They look like a good team, not a great team. A team very much like the Rams the year they went to the playoffs and they lost the Atlanta Falcons the first round. That's the type of team I see from this team, and I do think the Rams can beat them Saturday Night Football, Week 16. As far as the Cardinals, it's going to be a tough matchup. The next 4 games, Alexis, the Rams go up against Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Dak Prescott. That is going to give them a test because what did you just go up against? Matt Ryan on one ankle that you injured. Andy Dalton, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky. So we're really going to find out how good this Rams team is, how good they can become, and hopefully they find, that next level, and in the latter portion of the season, because they're going to need to. And hopefully Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods get back to health, and the Rams can really run their offense. And hopefully they continue to use Todd Gurley, because again, Todd Gurley is the engine of that offense. And if it wasn't more obvious, it was made very obvious on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting rest of the season. And I think it's going to be really telling of this Rams team.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be really telling of this Rams team. But I mean, that's going to do it for us. Hope you guys enjoyed. Quicker episode. Obviously, there's not a ton to talk about. I think we hit everything pretty well. But we're really excited for the Rams Ravens. That's going to be a fun preview show. And I'm excited for the rest of the season. Can you believe it's going to be week 12? It seems like the season's flown by, because it always does. With that being said, if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at Downtown Rams, at Downtown Rams on Twitter, and we're also on Facebook. Follow at the Alexis Craft. That's my co-host. Follow at JK Bogan DTR. That's me. We're both on Twitter. We both interact. So don't be a stranger. Reach out to us. But that's going to do it for Jake Ellenbogen. She's Alexis Craft. This has been the Downtown Rams podcast. It's been episode 260. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back to talk about Rams Ravens very soon. Take care, guys.